For over a decade, golf fans around the world have waited to witness it. And now it's real. No more what-ifs. Rory McIlroy, the man who once crumbled under the weight of Augusta National back in 2011, has just completed what many are calling the most insane comeback in Masters history. The green jacket is finally his. And with it, the storybook ending that once felt out of reach is now complete. After an 11-year drought since his last major and countless almost at the Masters, Rory has delivered a performance that will go down in golf history. As CBS Sports reported just minutes after the win, McIlroy wins 2025 Masters, becomes sixth to complete career Grand Slam after an 11-year wait for fifth major. Let that sink in, sixth in history. It wasn't just a win, it was a redemption arc in real time. A comeback that felt personal, emotional, and bigger than the leaderboard. Because for Rory, the Masters has always been more than just a tournament. It's been the tournament. The missing piece, the monkey on his back. Every spring, the narrative followed him to Augusta. Is this the year Rory finally completes the Grand Slam? And every spring, heartbreak. This wasn't a dominant wire-to-wire victory. This was a grind, a battle, a final round roller coaster that had fans glued to their screens, holding their breath with every swing. And make no mistake, this wasn't handed to him. Rory clawed his way into contention, shot by shot, hole by hole, until he forced a playoff against Justin Rose, the only man standing between him and history. And then, he buried a birdie putt that will be replayed for decades to come. But this isn't just about stats or trophies. This was about the man, the story, the weight of expectation, of past failures, of media pressure, of personal disappointment. You could see it in his eyes walking up the 18th. You could hear it in his voice post-round. This was a win that meant everything. From the agony of 2011 to the glory of 2025, Rory McIlroy's Masters journey is nothing short of cinematic. And now, with the career Grand Slam finally complete, one massive question echoes louder than ever. How did he pull this off? What really happened on that final Sunday that changed everything? How did a man once haunted by Augusta become its undisputed king? Stick around, because what unfolded on the final day of the 2025 Masters wasn't just a golf match. It was a moment of pure sporting magic. Before the glory, there was heartbreak. Before the green jacket, there was the haunting memory of what could have been. Because for Rory McIlroy, Augusta National wasn't just another stop on the calendar. It was the battlefield where he fought his demons every spring. Let's go back. 2011, Rory was 21 years old, leading the Masters heading into the final round. The world watched as the boy wonder stepped onto the first tee, poised to take his first green jacket. What followed was one of the most infamous meltdowns in major history. A back nine collapse that saw him shoot 80, finishing tied for 15th. His dream disintegrated in front of millions. From that moment, Augusta became his personal ghost. And year after year, it returned. There were flashes of brilliance, yes. In 2015, he placed T4. In 2018, he played in the final group with Patrick Reed, only to fade under Sunday pressure. He had the distance. He had the creativity. He had every club in the bag. But what he didn't have was peace. Not at Augusta. Because every year the Masters returned, so did the questions. Will this be Rory's year? Can he finally complete the Grand Slam? The media never stopped asking. The fans never stopped hoping. And McIlroy? He never stopped feeling it. The pressure was relentless. The spotlight unforgiving. It wasn't just about winning a golf tournament. It was about silencing the noise. Every press conference, every swing on Amen Corner, every missed opportunity. They stacked up. And whether he admitted it or not, they weighed heavily on him. Golf Digest captured the feeling best. It's been a long road back. And that road was littered with close calls, tears behind sunglasses, and an ever-growing chip on his shoulder. This wasn't a case of lost form. Rory won majors, 4 of them in fact. He dominated the PGA Tour. He had world #1 status. He lifted trophies at the Open, the US Open, the PGA. But the Masters? It stayed out of reach, and with every passing year, that missing piece grew heavier. What should have been the final jewel in the crown became a haunting void. McIlroy wasn't just chasing a title. He was chasing redemption, chasing the player he was supposed to become, the one who could walk the back nine at Augusta on Sunday with confidence, not caution. And that's why this win, this 2025 comeback, hit different. It wasn't just about getting the Grand Slam. It was about everything it took to get back to this point. The mental battles, the heartbreaks, the years of almost. And now all of it, all of the pain, the pressure, the doubt, has finally been released. But how did Rory turn the page on history and rewrite his legacy on golf's most sacred ground? Let's rewind to the final day of the 2025 Masters, because what happened next shook Augusta to its core. Sunday, April 13th, 2025, Augusta National. The moment the world had waited for, and the moment Rory McIlroy had been preparing for his entire career. Heading into the final round, the leaderboard was tighter than ever. Justin Rose sat atop the pack at 11, with McIlroy trailing closely behind. The names on the board weren't just competitors. They were history makers in waiting. And yet, no one had more on the line than Rory. Not just a trophy, not just a major, but the career Grand Slam, the green jacket, redemption. But the round didn't start as a fairy tale. It started as a fight. McIlroy's opening holes were tense, nervy, a missed fairway here, an awkward lie there. The weight of the moment that seemed to hang on every shot. As The Guardian later quoted Rory, "The start wasn't great, but I knew I had to keep believing." And that belief, that iron will, is what carried him into Masters folklore. Because something clicked on the back nine. It started on 13, Amen Corner. One of the most iconic holes in golf and one of the most unforgiving. Rory stared down a slippery, bending birdie putt and drained it. The roar from the gallery echoed across the Georgia pines. That was the momentum shift. That was the sign. By the time he reached 15, he was surging. The swing was looser, the walk faster, the eyes sharper. Augusta was no longer haunting him. It was fueling him. Then came 17. After a perfect tee shot, Rory fired one of the gutsiest approach shots of his life. A towering iron that cut through the swirling wind and landed just 12 feet from the pin. The gallery could feel it. So could Rory. He walked up to that green like a man chasing fate, not just a flagstick. He nailed the putt. Another birdie. The charge was real. By the time he reached 18, McIlroy had pulled even with Rose. But it wasn't over. He still had to save par on the final hole, a hole that had destroyed him 14 years earlier. One bad swing and it would all be for nothing. He split the fairway, played a controlled approach, and stood over the par putt with the weight of a nation on his shoulders. Silence. Stroke. Cup. Boom. Augusta erupted. He'd forced the playoff. Let's look at that final birdie putt again. Slow motion, crowd reaction, fist pump, a decade in the making. That single moment, the confident walk, the clean contact, the quiet celebration, was the culmination of everything he'd endured. It was the definition of clutch. And it was the moment the entire 2025 Masters flipped from just another Sunday to one of the greatest comebacks this sport has ever seen. But Rory wasn't done. One more hole, one more swing at destiny, and what happened next took Augusta's breath away. Rory McIlroy versus Justin Rose. Everything, legacy, redemption, and history riding on one hole. This wasn't just golf anymore. This was theater. Moments earlier, McIlroy had drained his final par putt on an 18, forcing the playoff. Justin Rose, who had led for much of the day, found himself under pressure he hadn't felt in years. For Rory, this was more than just a shot at a green jacket. This was closure. This was the final chapter to a story written in heartbreak, criticism, and unimaginable weight. And he knew it. As CBS Sports captured it, McIlroy, after an 11-year wait, was just one hole away from completing the career Grand Slam. You could see it in his eyes walking us back to the tee, calm, focused, almost eerie in his composure. The ghosts of 2011, gone. The scars of missed chances, faded. This was a man who knew the moment had finally arrived, and he wasn't going to let it slip. The playoff began on the 18th. Again, familiar ground. But this time, Rory's swing was loose, fluid, free. He smoked his drive dead center. The roar from the crowd was unlike anything we'd heard all week. Rose followed, but pulled it ever so slightly into the first cut. Then came Rory's approach. Wedge in hand, the pin tucked back left, danger everywhere. He stepped up and fired a dart, landing it inside 10 feet. Pure class, pure poise. The pressure? It was all on Rose now, and Rose cracked. His approach flew long, took a hard bounce, and left him with a near impossible downhill chip. He played it as best he could, but left himself a tricky par putt, one he had to make if Rory converted. And then Augusta held its breath. Rory standing over the birdie putt, 9 feet between him and immortality. The crowd still, his caddy holding back a breath. One final read, one clean stroke. The putt dropped, and with it, the weight of a decade. The crowd exploded, Augusta shook. History was made. Justin Rose missed his par attempt seconds later, and just like that, Rory McIlroy was the 2025 Masters champion. As the Times reported, McIlroy triumphed in a dramatic sudden death playoff. They weren't exaggerating. Social media went into meltdown. Golf Digest called it the comeback of comebacks. Legends of the sport chimed in, from Tiger to Faldo, tipping their cap to a man who had stared down Augusta's shadow and finally conquered it. This wasn't just a win, it was the win. But now that the green jacket is finally his, what comes next for Rory McIlroy? The green jacket is his, the Grand Slam is complete, and the legend of Rory McIlroy is forever etched into the heart of Augusta National. With that one birdie putt, that one pure, fearless stroke, Rory joined the most elite company in golf. Nicklaus, Woods, Player, Sarazen, Hogan, and now McIlroy. Only 6 men in the entire history of the sport have done it. 6. Let that settle in for a moment. This isn't just a Masters win. This is the final piece of a puzzle 14 years in the making. As Golf Digest so perfectly wrote, Rory McIlroy, a Masters champ forevermore. It's a sentence that once felt impossible. But now it's real, it's history, it's official. Rory didn't just win a tournament, he rewrote the narrative. He silenced the critics. He conquered the course that had haunted him for over a decade. And yet, he's not done. In his post-round interview, when asked about what comes next, McIlroy smiled and simply said, "I'm not done yet." That quiet confidence, that fire in his eyes, it tells you everything. He didn't come here just to check a box. He came here to dominate, to prove that his best golf might still be ahead of him. And now the question hangs in the air. Is this the greatest comeback in modern golf? Because when you factor in the pressure, the history, the emotional baggage, how many other moments come close? From the wreckage of 2011 to the triumph of 2025, this wasn't just about talent. This was about mental strength, patience, resilience. This was a man battling his past and coming out the other side as a legend. Where does this place Rory among the all-time greats? 5 majors, a career Grand Slam, over 30 wins worldwide, and now the crown jewel. He's no longer the guy with potential. He's no longer the almost story. Rory McIlroy is a certified giant of the game, and he did it in an era stacked with talent, under the harshest spotlight, on golf's most sacred ground. So what happens now? Does he chase Jack? Does he catch Tiger? Maybe not, but what's undeniable is this: Rory has nothing left to prove, and everything still to play for. That's a dangerous combination. That's a recipe for more greatness. Comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.